Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Hello, y'all. You're in for a treat today. Lou is flying solo, interviewing Tracy Knight. Tracy Knight, you'll hear, is an energetic, high-spirited life coach known for coaching women to live their most audacious life. In fact, on her website, there's a statement that says she offers leadership and lifestyle solutions to audacious individuals who are ready to live life on their own terms without succumbing to fear, setbacks, and others' expectations. Tracy's website is iamtracyknight.com. As well, she can be found as I Am Tracy Knight on most other social media platforms. Enjoy.
Well, hello. I am here today with Tracy Knight. Tracy is here to talk about the audacious life. I like the sound of that. Tracy's an accomplished author, trainer, speaker, and certified self-mastery coach. Welcome, Tracy, to Earrings Off.
Good morning, Lou. I'm so excited to be here. I've been waiting for this interview for some time. And good morning to all of your listeners.
Well, I tell you, we are excited. I'm excited to have you here. And it's unfortunate that our listeners can't see you, Tracy, because you have an awesome smile lighting up the room. So I love that energy. So Tracy, we're going to just jump right in. We're going to talk about some subjects you're very, very familiar with, how to be audacious, talking about how producing women and burnout. So let's jump in. So Tracy, talk to us about why so many high producing women are burning out.
Yeah. This is a very pervasive topic right now of burnout, and especially in light of where we've been with this global pandemic. But It's not just that. To me, the pandemic just created an opportunity for us to become more aware of how we live our lives as women and as men and as families. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that so many women are burning out is because we've not learned how to balance the production and the production capacity. Mm-hmm. Now, let me explain what that means. In short, women don't have enough margin. Mm-hmm. Now, every single day we get up and we go about our day and we produce a lot. That's what the P is in production. Mm-hmm. We get up, we get ourselves ready. That's a part of life. We wash clothes, we manage a household. We also are responsible for going to work oftentimes, managing children. Some of us are in the sandwich generation where we may be caring also for parents who are aging. Right. And then life just has its natural nuances. So that requires a lot of time and energy and resources, internal resources. You might look at this like a bank, like let's look at it from a financial standpoint. That's the equivalent of spending money, right? Because you're expending energy. So it's just like spending money, paying out bills, constantly paying out. So then what happens is, in order for you to pay bills, you better have some money in the bank account.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, you're going to go into overdraft. Yeah. And so the PC is the personal character or the performance capacity. The way that you build your performance capacity or your personal character is by making deposits into yourself. Okay. Making deposits into yourself is mentally, spiritually, emotionally, sexually, socially. But every time you make deposits, whether it's eating healthy in alignment with your body, getting regular exercise, but it's not just that. It's clearing out your circle of influence, the people who you spend the majority of your time with. If it is not a reciprocal relationship, it's burning you out and not just depositing into you. If you're in a job that's in a misalignment with you, then it's pulling more from you than it is depositing into you. See, even though you pay out with the job, if it is fortifying, will also pour back into you. That's a deposit. The goal here is to make sure that you have a balance between what it is that you deposit in yourself and what you burn out, which is margin. And to be honest with you, a lot of women think that it might be selfish, or they deem themselves as wanting to be selfless. But who wants to be selfless? What I advocate for is for you to be self more. And when you're self more, you will have more life to live.
Right. That is so good, Tracy, because even though we keep hearing about how many different roles that we're trying to manage and the stress that women are dealing with on a daily, day-to-day basis, even though you hear it and you know it, we still sometimes have a problem with taking a minute and taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
But what I hear you saying is that before we can do that, before we can make the deposit, we have to take a minute and assess our environment, is assess what we're doing, assess who we're around, assess what we're allowing into our spirit.
Yes.
So that's just, that's all part of it. And we've not been taught or applauded for doing that.
Exactly. And here's the thing. A lot of times we have wanted to be applauded, and that's because we've been conditioned in an environment to secure that acknowledgement and that validation outside of ourselves. Right. And so what that is, Lou, is that is chasing sort of the net worth. And when I say net worth, what I'm talking about are things that are sort of, they're material, they're outside of you, whether it's personal, it's validation from others or accolades. It might actually be material possessions like cars and houses, and things like that. We have allowed to be the source of our self-worth. Yes. But the reality is our self-worth comes from inside. And that's why that PC also stands for personal character. Because the truth of the matter is your self-worth comes from you pouring more into yourself. Your self-worth comes from you when you are in the face of making a decision as to whether or not you are in integrity with yourself. Because let's say you said, I'm gonna get up and walk today. Right. And something pops up, the job calls, and they say they want you to come and do this early. Right. Being in integrity with yourself is keeping your commitment to yourself.
That's right.
That builds your character. And the more you do that, character is built, character is habits. That's all character is. Your character is not who you say you are. Your character is a compilation of who you are being. Right. What you practice, the habits that you engage in. So if you have a habit of breaking promises to yourself, breaking commitments to yourself, what it does is it slowly chips away at your self-worth, your ability to trust yourself. And let me prove it to you. If you were in a relationship with someone where every single time that they said that they would do something with or for you, they would break that promise, would you continue to be in a relationship with them?
No.
Or even if you were in the relationship because maybe they were family, how much stock would you really put into them?
Right.
So the same is true for ourselves. It's just that we're carrying, we're carrying ourselves with us everywhere we go, but it's showing up in our confidence. It shows up in our physical body because the body carries everything. So if you want to know why you start binge eating or you want to binge watch and check out, that's because people are wanting to not be present with themselves. They're distracting themselves because over and over and over and over again, you're not really being supportive of yourself. You can't count on yourself. Remember, we went back to the bank account. You can't count on yourself. To appreciate you, because in banking, which is where I originated my career from, in banking, you appreciate an account. It grows interest and value by you continuing to make deposits, and those deposits multiply themselves.
Right.
And so when you don't make those deposits, you don't really show appreciation for yourself and what the body is doing. This body is miraculous. Every single day it gets up no matter what you have put in it. Alcohol, smoke, a whole bunch of sugar. You didn't exercise that the organs are working overtime at night trying to recuperate so that you can be ready to get up in the next morning. And we sometimes neglect to give it what it needs so that it can be fortified and ready to go to live this life audaciously and on our own terms.
Wow. And Tracy, I love what you said when you said that character is just habits.
That's it.
It's what you do.
That's it. That's it. It is who you are being. And Lou, what I wanted to share with your listeners is, just part of my philosophy, because if you, I guess what I want them to know is that all is not lost. You don't have to feel saddened by this or feel like you're defeated or feel like it's too late for you. I'm 52 years old and I feel like I'm 20.
Yeah.
I feel better now today than I did when I was 20. I wouldn't go back for anything.
Yeah. I feel the same way about that.
Let me tell girl, I was saying to myself, like, this is the best. This is the best time of life.
Yeah.
I'm not fraught with all the things that come with the 20s of trying to impress people and go after the checklists of life. I have way more wisdom than that now. Yeah. But what I want the listeners to understand that no need to fret, because number one, I'm here as your self-mastery coach. That's number one. Right. And number two, life is just a game of experiences. Now I need for them to catch this because I want to shift their paradigm about what is really happening. The life that you're living, which begins with your birth and ends with your death, the spirit never dies. It keeps going. That spirit has incarnated into this body called you to just play a game for a duration of time. This game is a game of experiences that you're having. It's just a compilation of various experiences. The objective of the game is for you to create a life that is worth living. So that means, for me, at least, that means it feels liberating. So it feels like I'm living life on my own terms. I feel free to live on my own terms. That is inspiring. That means that I can jump out of bed every single day and get at it like I am today as I'm preparing to go on vacation tomorrow. All right. And then it feels connected with other people, your loved ones, lovers. It feels connected with yourself. It feels connected with your higher power. So you're playing this game. Now, here's what you need to know. Just like all other world-class games, whether you're playing bid, whist, or spades, maybe you like that kind of game. Maybe you like Monopoly, or maybe you like playing basketball or something of that nature. Every single game has obstacles. Every single game has opponents.
That's right.
Well, the opponent, let's do the obstacles. The obstacles in this game is just how life happens. That's right. COVID shows up. You got this at work. Got to get a new car. It's just life is showing up. So those are the obstacles. You're on an epic quest to see how you can navigate through those experiences and still enjoy life at the same time, recognizing all this stuff. It's just cyclical. It's just to see, this game is to see how masterful you can be at navigating through it and still maintain your peace, still maintain your joy. Now, I talked about opponents. This game does have opponents. Your main opponent is staring at you in the mirror every single day.
That is so true. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, that's the most powerful one.
That is the most. She is there, and here's a key object of the game. The object of the game is to get her as an ally, and not an opponent. Yeah. Because your mind is conditioned to think that I have to seek validation outside of myself. Ooh, does that work as a support for me, or is that working in opposition? Well, obviously it works in opposition, because if I'm constantly chasing what somebody else wants me to be, that subordinates what I want me to be. So if I can shift that belief system such that I began to recognize that I decide, I'm in control of my life. I have the power to decide. And the tools that I have are my belief systems. No material possession has any control over you. Only your beliefs do. So when you believe that you are in the driver's seat, which you are, because our higher power has given you permission to do that, you can't even get around it. It's called free will.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the will to choose how you're going to live your life. So in short here, as a self-mastery coach, I teach you how to build the character. That's the habits.
Right.
To tap into your courage. Courage ain't nothing but fear and a prayer. Okay. To keep going, even when it looks like it's scary to us, to just keep going because something else is on the other side, and to develop the competencies to become your best self.
Right. Wow. Okay. So Tracy, you talked about self-mastery. So how can we minimize burnout?
Yes. So the way that you minimize burnout is you first need some assessments. I like to make sure that we ground everything in data. Okay. So one of the tools that I use and offer to my clients is called the Balance app. And the Balance app allows us to select a group of habits, because remember, I said your character is nothing but a compilation of your habits. And you have habits right now. The question is, are your habits effective or ineffective for the life that you want?
Right.
So if you're on burnout, clearly you have some ineffective habits.
Right.
So to get grounded in reality, we need to get some data to see which habits are working and which are not. Where do we keep our commitments and our word to ourselves, and when don't we? So I use the Balance app, which is a compilation of habits that you will select based on how you want to live your life.
Right.
Balance is an acronym for breath. So we'll choose some breath habits. And that might be anything from walking and running, anything that gets your breath up. The reason this is important because breath is the source of life. And most women hold their breath. So we need habits that are going to keep you consistent with that. Okay. The A in balance stands for aqua. How much liquid and what quality of liquids are you taking in? Water or a lot of coffee and alcohol. So we want to learn to manage that. The L is lengthening. That's stretching the body and making sure that your muscles are elongated so you don't shrivel up. You need your muscles. The other A is anaerobic, and that's building strength training. The N is nutrition. The C is for cleansing, because we need to detox the mental, spiritual, emotional body. All of it. We have to detox that. So it's different ways to detox. And then the E is energize. What are things that energize us? So we create habits here. Now you might say this is kind of weird, but not really, because you practice these habits on a weekly basis. What it's going to show you, number one, is how much you keep your word to yourself. The habits that you're selecting are designed to help reduce your stress. I'm teaching you how to prioritize yourself. I'm teaching you how to let go of the things that are not serving you, or to prioritize those things. See, big rocks need to be taken care of first. And you are the number one big rock. And then in the course of every day, there will be other big rocks with work and family and children and all of that, but not before you. Not before you. See, when I get up in the morning, I've already I've already meditated this morning. Do you see what I'm saying? Because in order for me to pour out to you all, I have to pour into me first. Right. And then I coach you on identifying those other habits that are ineffective for you and causing you to burn out. Because sometimes we're people pleasing and wanting to be loved. And I want to teach you how to tap into that love internally so that you can attract mates that honor and respect that. So that you can shift your family from thinking that you are the source to help empower them to you all be in a synergistic relationship where everybody is pulling your weight instead of all of the weight being on your back. Right. So that is how we shift burnout. Right.
Wow. So Teresa, what are some techniques that women can use to take inventory of their lives to keep from overexerting themselves?
Yes. Great question. A few techniques is one, just being aware. just being aware of how much you can do, just a little inventory, during the day, just in the course of a day or in the course of a week. That's a great way to kind of check in with yourself to see how much you prioritize yourself versus prioritizing someone else. Just give yourself a little tick, a little tally to see how much you're prioritizing yourself versus prioritizing someone else. And just look at the data. The data will show you that. That is a great technique that grounds you in reality. So number one is being aware. The second part of being aware is to understand why you're doing it. I think it's important to know your why, because if my why is we'll say things like, well, I need for my children to be happy, or I want the promotion, or I got to keep my job. All of that gives your power away. It's outside of you. Okay. Nowhere in there is you. Right. Okay. So you want to understand the why you're doing it. Maybe it's because you want to look like you're the super mom. And so you don't need to look like a super mom. Do you really need to be a super mom? Do you really need for people to tell you you're a super mom? Or do you just need to go about being the best and most effective mother you possibly can? That's a shift in consciousness as to why you are doing it. Why are you working 18, 20, 30 hours a day? Why are you doing that? Is it because you want the boss to validate you? Why are you doing it? So that sense of awareness. Then the second thing is to make a choice. You have to decide whether or not you want to shift. Okay. There are three types of decisions. There is it would be nice to do it, but I'm not really committed to it. No judgment. Okay. That's not going to sustain you. You need to be clear that I would like to do this. It's sort of like, if I say, would you like to have $1 million? Most people will say yes. Okay. But are you willing to work to get the $1 million? It'd be nice to get $1 million if I win the lottery and it falls in my lap. That's a no. I'm not really willing to work towards that. Then the second decision is, would you like $1 million? Yes, I'm willing to put forth effort to go and get that. That is a decision that I have decided that I want the $1 million. So you have to decide, what kind of life do you want? For me, my why is, Lou, you're gonna love this. My why is that I plan to live to at least 100 and beyond. I want to be able to wipe my own behind and be in my right mind.
I'm gonna tell you, Tracy, that's a good goal. I'm telling you. Yeah.
It's quite simple. So when it comes down when life gets tough and I really want to go off and eat some cake or whatever, I'm like, it's not that I deprive myself of cake. I enjoy that, but I remember that my why, and I'm able to balance that. When it comes time for me to go run, I'm like, I really don't feel like running. Why am I running? Why? Because sometimes I'm out here, I'm like, why am I running? Why am I out here? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I want to be in my right mind. I want to be able to wipe my own behind. And it keeps me driven. So the person needs to be able to understand what their why is. That third decision is like, you have to become convicted in that. So because life is going to show up and it's going to challenge you. So I think so being aware of why you're doing it, and then being responsible for. So now you take ownership of it. That's that third decision. It's like you take ownership of it and you prioritize it no matter what. That's the responsibility. And then the third habit that a person can develop: awareness, responsibility, and the last one is management. You've got to put some habits in place. Habits take time to build. You've built these habits, women, ladies, over the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. It takes time to rescript them, but I guarantee that if you set your sight on creating a better quality life, having better relationships, better sex, and no matter what age you are, okay? If you set your intention to have more peace in your life, more fulfillment in your life, you can create that, because I believe that we can have it all. And I am a living testament of that.
Yeah. That is good stuff, Tracy, because what you're saying is you make the decision, and if you don't follow through on your habits or doing what you know needs to be done, then you actually have made the decision that I don't want that. That's right. Really not something I'm going to go after.
And that's perfectly fine, but understand that it's consequences for everything, Luke.
Yeah.
Consequences are neutral. Consequences are not bad. Consequences are not good. You have to decide if you can live with the consequences of that decision. That's all it is. Tracy, if you can live with it, great. I can't live with the consequence of not being in my right mind. So I'm doing everything in my power to stay in my right mind and to stay healthy, because I choose something different for my life.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. That is so true. So Tracy, talk to me about, what do you mean by living life audaciously?
Yes.
Talk to us about what that looks like.
Yeah. So the word audacious means to dare. It means to be bold. And so I feel like so often I talked about your most formidable opponent is staring at you in the mirror every day. She loves you and she wants to protect you. I call her your humanist because it's where your ego sits. She's been conditioned to believe that she can only have a little bit of happiness, or that she can settle on this, to settle, maybe not go after your greatest aspiration. Right. You might think, well, I don't know, maybe, is that really for me? I've always wanted to start a business. Is that really for me? Or I've always wanted to bake goods and sell them, or I always wanted to be in an amazing relationship and I don't quite have that now. Is that really for me? And so what I'm telling you is that it is your humanness, that part of you that is just afraid. She just has a belief. See, the humanist governs beliefs. And so because she has been conditioned for whatever reason to believe that you've come as far as you can in terms, when a lot of us went to college. And so that was a big, audacious go after it, and we did that. Right. But what happens over time, in our 20s, we a lot of times are bold and audacious. Right. When we're younger as little kids, like my daughter here is bold and audacious. Like if they see a bike they want, they going after that.
Yeah.
They're going to go after it. But over time, we have disappointments in life. Yeah. And so it chips away at that audaciousness in us. And what I'm here to do is to remind you that she still lives within you. And as a coach, I coach you in shifting your humanness from becoming an opponent to an ally. And so living audaciously is defined by you. It is to live your most daring and bold life. It is to live life on your own terms. So I would ask your listeners, what does it mean for you to live life on your own terms? What would that look like for you? Yeah. To be living your own, the best life you could? What would it look like in your health? What would it look like in your career if you were just bold and audacious? What would that look like? What would your finances look like? What would your platonic relationships, your relationship with your family, what would that look like with your friends? What would your sexual, intimate relationships look like? What would your lifestyle be? That's what it means to live life on your own terms. And then do you have the courage, the clarity, the conviction to go after that?
And so, Tracy, when you work with your clients, do you see that some clients are just fearful to even dream of being audacious?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, first and foremost, society has oftentimes told us what it means to be successful. Remember, I said that we've been deciding what success is outside of us. So we do the checklist. I'm like everyone else. I grew up like that too, where we have a checklist: go to school, get a degree, get a great career, get a boo, go get a house, get some cars, go on some vacation, get a lot of material possessions. And so what happens?
That was the blueprint. That was
the blueprint, And so then if you're like me, one day you wake up and you're like, is this all, like, something is missing here?
Yeah.
I remember, a little bit about my story. This is a very true story for me, that I was in my 30s starting to wake up each morning and I was crying. And I couldn't figure out why I was crying. And I remember laying in bed and saying, God, if this is all there is, then I will do my best to just be okay with it, because I want you to know that I'm grateful for what I do have, because I've worked really hard to get it, and I'm grateful. This is what I thought I was supposed to do. I said, but if there is something more, this was in my late 30s, if there is something more, please reveal it to me. And that day I happened to get up and go to church because I really was seeking some help, because I thought to myself, I mean, I've got husband who's handsome, he's successful, we got all this stuff, and that. My career has been quite successful. And so I ended up landing in a wellness center after church, where I would meet the woman who would later become my coach, my life coach. And I remember her saying to me, you know, really like, who are you? You know, who are you? And each time, once I signed up for coaching with her, and I'd come in and she'd say, so Tracy, how are you feeling today? And I'd say, oh, well, if my husband would do this and my job did that and this happened to me. She said, I didn't ask you what you think and all the, you know, little things that happen in your day. I asked you, how do you feel? And I said, well, I told you how I feel. She said, no. You told me what you think. And this went on for about a month or so. And I was going in every single week. And I was getting frustrated. And so one day, because I'm brilliant, like most women, I said, she is not going to beat me, because I really don't know what she's talking about. What is she asking me? So I go home and I Google feelings. And what comes up is a tool that I use in my practice called the feeling wheel. And I print it out and I put it in my purse, because I'm going to be ready for it this time when she asks me. So when she asked me, I take out the piece of paper and she said, so Tracy, how are you feeling? And I said, I feel anxious and I feel overwhelmed by life. And I don't feel like I can have a handle on this. At first she starts laughing. She said, did you just pull out a piece of paper with a bunch of feelings on it? I said, well, actually I did. And I showed her the feeling where I said, girl, I didn't know what you were talking about. And I tell this story because I was so out of touch with just how I felt in my beingness. So it's no way I could tell her who I was beyond my roles of daughter, mother, wife, sister. I didn't know, because I was so out of touch. I didn't know who Tracy was.
And I'm going to tell you, Tracy, I don't know about you, but so many times when we're trying to follow the roadmap, we're told, listen, nobody got time for that. Put your good girl stuff on. You got stuff to do.
Yes.
And you sort of stuff that down because you're trying to not only survive, you're trying to excel.
Yes.
And that's part of that, I think. So,
No, you're hitting it right on the head. And what happens, Lou, is it catches up with us over time.
Absolutely.
And we'll have a lot of stuff in our closets, but we begin to feel a sense of emptiness internally. And that's because the spirit will not be denied. She is the part of you who is longing for you to become the audacious being that you were put on this planet to be.
Right.
And she will not be denied. And she's sending you signals. And that's why when you wake up and you're not jumping out of bed and you're, and it shows up in so many areas of our life. See, I'm just skimming the surface. But when I bring my clients in, I have some women who like are in their 60s and they come in and they're like, I want a different caliber of relationship. I want this next quarter of my life to be, amazing. And I feel like I've done everything to get my children through school and I've supported my husband. However, I don't feel fulfilled, and there has to be more. And there is more awaiting you when you are willing to say yes to yourself.
Right. Wow. Okay. So we know that fear can impact our ability to excel.
Yes.
And live life audaciously. So we need to be aware of that fact, that happens. And also, Tracy, when you talked about earlier, just making sure we're aware of the opponents that we're going to face in the game. I love that analogy. Just know that it's going to happen. And many times when I was younger, what would throw me off, Tracy, was thinking that it's not going to happen.
That's right.
If I do all of this, then I can fend off the opposition or the challenges.
Yes.
But part of maturity, or you have to understand there are going to be obstacles. And it's about what you said earlier, how you respond and navigate those obstacles.
Lou, I'm gonna hire you because you're gonna be a great PR person because you got it.
Well, you're making me think about that, because Tracy, when you said earlier that you jump out of bed, you feel good, that's the way I am every day.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful. And I am telling you, some days I'm overwhelmed with gratitude that I was able to navigate,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you want that for people.
Yes.
You do.
I do. I absolutely do. I want them to know. That's why my coaching practice is focused on women who are 40 plus, because in your 20s, the reality is in your 20s, you're taking on the world. You thinking, I don't know why these people haven't solved these problems, but we're going to solve it.
Right.
That's why most movements, civil rights movements and the like, have been led by people in their 20s, because they believe with conviction they can change the world. They can, and they are making a deposit there. But what happens is they work really hard for a decade, about 10 years, and then they get to the end of their 20s, almost 30, and they're like, that didn't work out quite the way I thought it was going to work out.
Yeah.
So then 30 hits, and they're like, well, maybe I just need more education. So they go back and get masters. And then they say, well, maybe I also just need to work harder. And they're also in that phase of creating a family for themselves. Right. So they work real hard for another decade.
Right.
And then when they approach 40, and they're like, this stuff, something is not right here. And so they either at 40, you start to either give up, you start going down that path of, well, maybe I'll just turn my life over to my children and I'll just hope that they can do better in their life. Right, and then some women say, nope, something is going to shift here. Yeah. And so I only coach women who are in that 40 stage who, even if you don't see yourself as audacious yet, you will be. That you are. I coach women who are ambitious, who want life. They thirst for something more because they do have enough life experiences that I can begin to tap into that maturity. Mm-hmm. And because it requires us to surrender the attachment to what we've been taught. That's right. All those things we've been taught to embrace something new. And I promise you, you're going to have even more than what you could ever imagine.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah. And so, it's a certain level of maturity that's required in order to get to that place. And it doesn't necessarily come with age. It does come with life experiences.
There you go. Yeah. That's so true. Well, Tracy, those are all of the questions that I have for you today, but can you just share a bit of last words with our audience, or something you want to make sure that you bring out to them? And also please share with them how they can get in touch with you. Okay.
Yeah. I think my closing words are just simply that I see you. I see you, and that you are not alone on this planet. You just simply are not. I know that you want a healthy body. I know that you want to look and feel great and age with grace and beauty. I know you want a loving family, a compatible partner, an intimacy, a sense of purpose. I know you want to make a meaningful contribution, to feel fulfilled, to have beautiful surroundings, to be financially secure, to have amazing friends, to be acknowledged, to have fun, be excited about life, to experience peace and joy. And I know you want the freedom to be you. And I want you to know you can have it all if you are willing to chase yourself the same way that you have chased all these other things. And I can support you in taking back, transforming, and winning at the game of life. You can reach me at IamTracyKnight.com. Tracy is spelled Tracey, and Knight is Knight. So IamTracyKnight.com. And I want to invite all of your listeners out to our upcoming, I put on play camps, which are day conferences. And our next one is August 18th. Okay. And it's going to be at the Gathering Spot in Atlanta, Georgia. And it'll be from 9 to 3. And we're going to be focusing that particular day camp. It's going to be focusing on how your how we are creating so many breakdowns in our relationships, and we're creating them because of our perceptions, our personality, and our preferences are getting in the way of having healthy, loving relationships in the workplace, at home, and in the community. And the reality is we live in a diverse world. Mm-hmm. And so if we can shift our perception and learn how to blend our personality with other very diverse personalities, and learn what is our preference and not just what it has to be, we can have much more healthy, fulfilling relationships. So if you simply just go to my website, check out many of the freebies and the tools that are there, you can sign up to be on our waiting list to get a private invitation to come to our next play camp, which is called Winning at the Game of Life and Leadership. And we will be talking about our relationships and diverse relationships in a world that is ever changing.
I love that. And you call it play camp.
A play camp.
I like it. I like it, Tracy. You think differently, and that's a good thing. Well, Thank you so much for joining me today here at Earrings Off. It's been a joy to talk with you and to meet you, and our very best to you as you continue on living life audaciously and even better, helping others do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you to everyone's out there. Create an amazing day for yourself.
Wow. Thanks.